When I lost our baby, he laughed at me, but when I handed him the DNA test, I laughed harder. Alina looked straight ahead, her face calm, but her hands were shaking. Daniel sat across from her, smiling at his phone. He didn't notice her pain. He didn't care. Just weeks ago, they were planning for a baby together. She had believed in their love. They had picked out names, looked at baby clothes, even painted a room yellow. Then the pain started. She collapsed at home and was rushed to the hospital. The doctor's voice still echoed in her head. "I'm sorry, you've lost the baby." Alina had cried silently, waiting for Daniel to hug her, to say something kind. But instead, he leaned back in his chair and said, "Maybe it's for the best. You weren't ready to be a mom anyway." He didn't hold her hand. He didn't shed a tear. That night, Alina watched him laugh on the phone with his friends. "She cried for hours," he said, chuckling. "Such a drama queen." Alina didn't cry again after that. Something inside her changed. She started noticing things. Daniel stayed out late, whispered on the phone, and came home smelling like someone else's perfume. She didn't argue. She didn't ask. She just watched. One day, Daniel's son from another woman came over. Alina offered him a drink and quietly collected his used straw. She sent it for a DNA test. Days passed. When the results came, she opened the envelope slowly. Her eyes scanned the paper. 0% probability of paternity. That evening, she walked into the living room. Daniel looked up. "What's up?" he asked. Alina handed him the paper. "Remember when you laughed after I lost the baby?" she said softly. "Now I want to see your face when you read this." He read it. His face turned pale. "This can't be real," he whispered. Alina stood still. "You mocked my pain. Now life is laughing at you." Daniel tried to explain. He blamed the boy's mother. He begged. Alina didn't move. "You lost me the moment you laughed." She walked out the door without looking back. "Sometimes karma doesn't knock," she said later. "It laughs. I thought he was my forever." His name was Daniel. We lived in a small apartment, full of warmth and dreams. Every morning, he would make us coffee, and I would pack his lunch. We laughed, talked, and shared everything. He would kiss my forehead before leaving for work and tell me he loved me. I believed every word. When I found out I was pregnant, I cried with joy. Daniel lifted me off the ground and spun me around. "We're going to be parents," he said with a big smile. He touched my belly and said, "That's our little miracle in there." We made plans. We picked names. If it was a girl, she'd be Lily. If it was a boy, he liked Noah. We bought baby clothes, soft blankets, and tiny shoes. Daniel painted the extra room yellow, just like I wanted. He even drew stars on the ceiling. We would lie in bed and talk for hours about our future. He said he wanted to be a cool dad. I felt lucky. I thought I had everything I ever wanted. His love, our home, and soon, a baby. Sometimes I would get nervous. I didn't know if I'd be a good mom. Daniel always reassured me. "You'll be the best," he said. "We'll do this together." I trusted him. I felt safe with him. Every little kick I felt made me smile, and Daniel would put his hand on my stomach and talk to the baby. I remember one night clearly. We sat on the couch, eating ice cream and watching old movies. He rested his head on my shoulder and whispered, "I can't wait to meet our baby." My heart was full. We even had a small celebration. A few friends came over. There were pink and blue balloons, and everyone guessed the gender. Daniel held my hand the whole time. I thought, this is it. This is my happy life. I was careful. I took all my vitamins. I didn't miss a doctor's visit. Every heartbeat we heard in those checkups made us smile. Daniel would squeeze my hand every time the sound came on. To the outside world, we were the perfect couple. And for a while, I believed it too. I believed every smile, every hug, every promise he made. I thought we were unbreakable. I never imagined how fast everything could change. It started with a strange pain in my stomach. At first, I thought it was nothing. Maybe I had eaten something bad, but the pain got worse. I tried to lie down, hoping it would pass. Then I felt something was very wrong. I couldn't stand. My body felt weak, and I started bleeding. I screamed for Daniel. He looked annoyed. "You're overreacting," he said. But when he saw the blood, he finally grabbed his keys. We rushed to the hospital. I was crying the whole way, holding my belly, praying it wasn't too late. At the hospital, the nurses took me in quickly. They asked questions, checked my pulse, and called the doctor. I was scared. My heart was racing. I kept asking if the baby was okay. Nobody answered. Daniel sat in the corner, looking at his phone, like he wasn't even there with me. The doctor came in after a scan. His face told me everything. He sat down and said gently, "I'm sorry, you've lost the baby." I froze. It didn't feel real. I kept hoping he was wrong. I waited for Daniel to come hold me, say something, anything. But when I looked at him, he wasn't crying. He wasn't shocked. He was smiling. "You're not serious," I said, my voice shaking. He shrugged. "Maybe it's for the best," he said. "You wouldn't have handled it well anyway." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My heart had just broken into pieces, and he stood there like nothing happened, like we didn't lose our baby. He didn't even try to comfort me. No hug, no tear, just a cold smirk. The nurse beside me gave me a tissue. She looked angrier than I was. I turned my face to the wall and cried quietly. I felt pain, not just from the loss, but from the way he acted. It was like I was alone, even with him beside me. That night, I stayed in the hospital bed, staring at the ceiling. My body was still, but my mind was spinning. I had lost my baby, and maybe I had lost the man I thought I loved too. I came back home from the hospital with a heavy heart. The silence in the apartment felt louder than ever. I sat on the edge of the bed, still wearing the hospital bracelet. My hands rested on my stomach out of habit, but it was empty now. I stared at the wall, waiting for Daniel to say something kind, but he didn't. Instead, he stood near the kitchen, pouring himself a drink. He didn't even look at me. Then he said, "Maybe it's for the best. You weren't ready for motherhood anyway." I turned to him slowly, my eyes filled with tears, but I didn't speak. I couldn't. The words stung more than anything I'd ever felt. He continued, like he hadn't just crushed me. "It's not like I was excited about the whole thing." My heart dropped. I couldn't understand how he could be so cold. I had just lost our child. I had cried every night since, but he acted like it didn't matter at all. He didn't hold my hand. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't even look sorry. I asked him, "Did it mean nothing to you?" He shrugged. "You got too emotional. You were already acting like some sad mother from a movie." That's when I knew something had changed. I wasn't just grieving alone. I was living with someone who didn't care if I was hurting. He didn't even try to pretend. I spent that night in the guest room. He didn't ask why. He didn't knock on the door. I curled up under the blanket and cried quietly so he wouldn't hear. Not that he would have cared. The next morning, I found him watching TV and laughing. No questions about how I was feeling. No comfort. Just jokes on a screen while I sat across the room, feeling like a stranger in my own home. I started noticing the little things. The way he avoided me. The way he changed the subject any time I mentioned what had happened. It was like he wanted to erase it all. He told me once, "Don't dwell on things that are over," as if losing a baby was like losing a shoe or forgetting a grocery item. That sentence broke something in me. I realized then, I wasn't just heartbroken. I was being treated like my pain didn't matter at all. And that was the cruelest part. After everything that happened, I hoped Daniel would be more caring, but he only became more distant. He started coming home late without any reason. Sometimes he didn't show up until midnight. When I asked him where he was, he just said, "Out," and walked away. He kept his phone with him at all times. He didn't leave it on the table like before. If I walked into the room, he would quickly hide the screen or put it face down. I wasn't allowed to touch it anymore. He started dressing up more, using fancy cologne, and spending extra time in front of the mirror. But none of that was for me. The house felt cold, not because of the weather, but because of how he treated me. He barely spoke. He didn't smile at me. It was like I didn't exist. I felt like a stranger sitting beside him. One night, I was walking past the kitchen and heard him talking to someone on the phone. I stayed still and listened. "She cried for hours," he said, laughing. "You should have seen her." I stood frozen. My stomach turned. He was talking about me, about the worst moment of my life, and he was making fun of it, of me. I covered my mouth and slowly walked back to the bedroom. I didn't want him to see my tears again. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction. A few days later, I saw a message pop up on his phone while he was in the shower. A woman's name with a heart at the end. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Everything made sense now. He had changed. He had checked out. I just didn't want to believe it at first, but now I could see it clearly. He wasn't just cold. He was hiding something. He stopped caring if I noticed. He didn't even try to lie well. He would go out, come back with lipstick on his collar, and act like nothing happened. I stayed quiet, watching him walk through the house like he didn't owe me anything. That's when I knew I was living with someone who didn't respect me, and he never really did. I stopped asking questions. I stopped hoping for answers. But that didn't mean I wasn't watching. I noticed everything. How Daniel smiled at his phone. How he came home smelling different. How his eyes didn't meet mine anymore. I didn't say a word. I just started thinking. One afternoon, his son from another woman came to visit. A quiet boy, maybe 8 or 9. He looked nothing like Daniel. I had never really thought about it before. But now, I started to wonder. Something didn't feel right. Daniel always talked about his son like he was proof of how great a father he could be. He said it like it gave him some kind of status. But now, I looked at the boy differently. His hair, his eyes, his face. None of it matched Daniel. And Daniel didn't seem close to him. There was no real bond, no warmth. A thought came to me, one I had never considered before. I pushed it away at first, but it kept coming back. If Daniel could laugh at my pain, lie to my face and cheat without guilt, what if there was more he was hiding? I waited for the right moment. The boy had left his toothbrush in the bathroom. I picked it up gently and placed it in a small plastic bag. My hands were steady. I felt no guilt. I just wanted the truth. The next morning, I found a lab online that offered DNA testing. I followed the instructions, packed everything carefully, and mailed it. I didn't tell anyone, not even my closest friend. This was something I had to do alone. Days went by. I acted normal around Daniel, cooked, cleaned, smiled when needed. But inside, I was calm in a different way. Not the kind of calm that comes from peace, but from clarity. I had no more doubts. When the envelope finally arrived, my hands didn't shake. I opened it slowly and read the words that changed everything. 0% probability of paternity. So it was true. The boy wasn't his, not even a little. All this time, he had used that child to show he was a real father, a responsible man. And it was all a lie. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel anger either. What I felt was quiet justice. The same way he didn't care when I lost something precious. Now he would know what it felt like. I looked at the paper again and thought to myself, maybe life was watching all along. Maybe this was the moment it chose to speak. The envelope felt heavier than it was. I held it in my hands for a while, just staring at it. The outside was plain, no hint of what was inside. Yet I knew it could change everything. My heart was beating faster, but my face stayed calm. I sat down at the kitchen table. The room was quiet, the clock ticking on the wall the only sound. I took a deep breath and opened the envelope. Inside was a single piece of paper. I unfolded it slowly and read the words at the top. My eyes moved to the results section. I didn't blink. I didn't breathe. 0% probability of paternity. I read it again, just to be sure. But the numbers didn't change. It was real. Daniel wasn't the father of that child, not even close. The test had no doubt. It was clear, simple, and final. I leaned back in my chair, holding the paper in my lap. The truth was right in front of me, written in black and white. All the pieces now made sense. The lies, the coldness, the fake stories. Everything fit together. There was no confusion, no questions left. And yet, I didn't smile. I didn't feel happy or proud. I just sat there, quiet. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about getting even. It was about knowing, about not being fooled anymore. This wasn't just a secret. It was a crack in everything he had built around himself. He wanted to seem strong, like he had control. But now, he was the one caught in a lie. And not just any lie. A lie about something he always used to make himself look better. I looked out the window. The world outside looked the same. But something inside me had changed. I folded the paper again and placed it back into the envelope. I didn't need to think about what to do next. The answer was already clear. Now it was his turn to sit and listen. His turn to face the truth. Daniel was sitting on the couch, drinking soda and scrolling on his phone. The TV was on, but he wasn't watching. He looked up when I entered the room, but he didn't say anything. I stood in front of him, holding the envelope. My voice was calm. "Do you remember how you laughed when I lost the baby?" He blinked, not sure what to say. "You didn't cry. You didn't care. You joked about it like it was nothing." He looked down, avoiding my eyes. "What do you want me to say?" I didn't answer his question. Instead, I took one step closer and held out the envelope. "Now I want to see your face when you read this." He frowned, confused. "What is it?" "Just read it." He took the envelope slowly, opened it, pulled out the paper and unfolded it. His eyes moved across the word. Then he stopped. He didn't blink. He just stared at the result. His hand dropped slightly. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. His face turned pale. You've seen it now, I said. No more pretending. He swallowed hard. This says I'm not his father. That's what it says. And it's true. He shook his head, trying to deny it. She told me I was. She said he was mine, and you believed her. Just like I believed you when you said you loved me. He looked down again, still holding the paper like it might change if he read it one more time. This is a lie, he said, but his voice was weak. It's not, I said. You mocked me when I was hurting. You called me names. You left me alone when I needed someone the most. He didn't respond. Now you know what it feels like to lose something you thought was yours. He looked up at me, eyes wide and full of panic. Alina, I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know. I shook my head. That doesn't change anything. He tried to say more, but I turned away. You laughed when I was at my lowest, I said. Now it's your turn to sit in silence. I walked out of the room, leaving him standing there with the truth in his hands and nothing left to say. He stood there holding the paper, his hands shaking, his mouth opened and closed like he was searching for words that wouldn't come. After a long pause, he finally spoke. This has to be wrong. She told me I was the father. She lied to me. He stepped closer, his voice louder now. I didn't know. I didn't ask for this. I thought he was mine. He waved the paper in the air, as if that would erase what it said. She played me. She used me. I believed her. But nothing he said changed the truth. I tried to be a good dad, he said quickly. I gave everything. I stayed for him. I didn't know he wasn't mine. Not a single word made me move. I was confused when you lost the baby, he continued, trying to explain. I was scared. That's why I acted like that. I didn't mean to laugh. I didn't mean to hurt you. He dropped his voice, now begging. Please. I didn't know how to handle it. I said stupid things, but I never wanted to lose you. Still, I stood silent, watching him fall apart. I'll fix it. I'll make everything right. Just give me one more chance, he pleaded. Please. I can change. You lost me the moment you laughed at my loss, I said, voice steady. He blinked, stunned. You made fun of my pain. You made me feel small. Now you understand what real loss feels like. He sat down, covering his face with his hands. Don't say that. I can't lose you. His voice cracked, but I didn't flinch. You thought you could hurt me and walk away clean, I said. But now the truth is here. And it hurts, doesn't it? He looked up, eyes red. I know I messed up, but please don't leave me. No reply. No pity. I didn't know, he whispered. I didn't know the boy wasn't mine. And I didn't know the man I loved could be so cruel. That was the end of it. He stayed frozen, broken, with the truth in his hands. I turned and walked away without another word. The moment I stepped out, everything felt calm. I didn't rush. I walked with my head held high, feeling steady for the first time in what seemed like forever. There was no weight on my shoulders anymore. No fear. No waiting for someone to care. This time, I wasn't looking for answers. I already had them. I had spent so many days hoping he'd change, wishing he would understand how badly he had hurt me. But he didn't. And maybe he never would. That no longer mattered. I wasn't walking away to punish him. I was walking away to protect myself. He made fun of my pain like it was something to laugh at. He treated my tears like they were nothing. But life has a way of bringing things full circle. The same way he laughed at my loss. Now he had to face one of his own. I didn't have to yell. I didn't have to argue. The truth had done everything for me. I passed the hallway where we used to leave our shoes side by side. Now, mine were the only ones moving forward. Every step I took was a promise to myself, to never accept less than respect again. There was no sadness in me now, just peace, a quiet kind that comes when you know you made the right choice. He had lost more than just a person. He had lost trust, love, and every chance he had to fix what he broke. I used to wonder what I did wrong, but I see now, it was never about me. It was about who he was, and who I became because of it. Stronger, clearer, wiser. People like him think they can do anything and walk away untouched. But the world doesn't work that way. Pain isn't a game. Hearts aren't jokes. And when someone mocks another's suffering, they're only inviting their own. He laughed once, but today he wasn't smiling. And I was, because I knew the truth. I lived through it, and I walked out with my head high. Sometimes karma doesn't knock, it laughs back. Do you think Alina did the right thing by walking away after everything Daniel did? Or should she have stayed and given him a second chance? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm really curious to hear your opinion. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload.